Hey, everybody, here it is. Another podcast, another episode from our producer, one of the greatest of all time,
Patent pending.
Danny
Danny
Craps,
Craps,
John Stiles, and we want to welcome you to another episode. And I believe, before we get everything rolling, Patent Pending would like to say some words of appreciation to the gender side of Las Vegas.
Absolutely. You know, this month is National Women's Month.
Yes.
All women here in Las Vegas, yes, and all over. So my hat's off to all of them. You know, people don't realize how much cocktail waitresses have done in this town. You know, in fact, the first gaming license ever in Las Vegas was from a lady, Mamie Stalker.
That is absolutely right, Patent Pending. Unbelievable knowledge that you have.
1931. She put in for her first gaming license. Her husband could not do it, Harold, because he worked for the railroad. So she put it in, and she was awarded 1931 the first gaming license in Las Vegas, and that was to the Northern Club.
The Northern Club. What a distinction.
Down on Fremont.
Her husband, like you said, couldn't because he got derailed.
So I tell you, that's an eye opener for a lot of guys out there to have a female on top. But the cocktail waitresses, they've made this town. But look at the cigarette girls, the change girls. People forgot about all these people, and they're there. They're real. They're no longer, but that's what they did.
Pending, you're right. The change girls, the cocktail waitresses, all the women that helped make the casinos great, along with the dealers. And of course, when women dealers started to enter into the scene, they came from Reno, if I'm not mistaken. So the early days, women were only dealing up in Reno, and it was pretty much, I believe, blackjack. I don't know when the first crap dealer female was up in Reno, but I know that in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace. The first one was in the middle '80s, before we had a female crap dealer in the dice pit at Caesar's Palace. Yes, Betty O'Leary.
We had one at the Tropicana, but that was around 80, 81. She came in, and boy, I tell you, the stuff they had to put up with. Oh my goodness, they had their hands full. You're talking about being tough as a snake. These girls were tough as a snake. And they had to be. Man, they were just...
Women are strong without reservation. Think about it. Men can't have babies. Women go through a lot of pain to have us men. Believe that. Even we would need maybe 10 or 12 epidermal shots, and maybe that wouldn't be enough.
I'm amazed they don't kill us in our sleep.
A couple have tried in the past, but I always sleep with one eye open.
Yeah. I just sleep in the other room.
do you have a combination on the door lock?
Yeah, big combination. Big lock, big padlock. But we're going to go off a little bit onto where we left off a few weeks ago on the Tropicana Hotel, and that's a pretty interesting hotel in itself. How that all took place and everything. Oh, I forgot. On that Women's Month, I forgot all about Barbara Walters. Her father was
Lou Walters.
Lou Walters.
But actually, prior to changing his name to Walters, it was Wasserman. Warren Wasserman. That's what, and he had married his first wife, Lillian Schwartz. So, then when they moved to Boston, he changed it to Walters.
Yeah, and he was the first one to ever bring Italy into Las Vegas. He brought the Folies Bergère.
He was the first person to be licensed outside of France to bring the production all the way to the desert back in those days.
Back in them days, absolutely, and. It was incredible. That was 1959, I believe. He opened that up.
Yes.
At the Tropicana.
Yes.
And he had some of the dancers. Do you remember Felicia Atkins?
Oh, do I ever? Oh my God! What a tall drink of water she was.
Boy, and look at who appeared there. They had Eddie Fisher,
Eddie.
Carol Channing.
Carol
She
Channing.
was there. They were headliners at the Tropicana back in 1957 when that opened. But I mean, they had all these the Follies girls. They had about 6 or 7 real headliners there back in '57. It was really a cool thing. They had Denise Clemente. She used to be in one of those lounge shows she had.
Yes.
I mean, it was fantastic back then at the Trop.
And you think about the costumes. The headdress weighed 40 pounds.
40 pounds.
So them gals had to know how to balance those head gear, and also wear those high heel shoes.
On top of it.
And of course, they were already statuesque, so they looked like they were 7-footers.
Yes. Well, I remember that Ben Jaffe, he came out and in 1955, and he looked at a piece of property there on Las Vegas Boulevard and Bond Road.
Bond, yes,
which
Bond.
is now the Tropicana.
Yes, yes.
So that's going back, but he ended up buying the 40 acres. Absolutely.
Yes. 40 acres.
Got it all opened up and everything. Of course, he had to sell out his shares at the Fountain Blue.
Yes, in Miami.
Back in Miami
Yes.
to make ends meet, and he did. He got it open, and he hired Phil Castell, that was looked down upon.
He was a little shady, according to the Gaming Control Board at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, they were suspicious of him with his dealings with Underworld figures.
Lou Costello, I believe.
Frank Costello,
Frank
I believe.
Costello. Frank Costello.
Lou had the hot dog stand just down the street.
Yeah, just right around the corner.
Yeah. He couldn't
Frank
cut the
Costello.
mustard with Frank, though.
Yeah, but he ended up getting he got shot in the head back in New York, and when Frank did.
Yes.
And when they took him to the hospital to work on him and everything, the police and everything were going through his pockets, and they found a slip of paper that had figures on it, which happened to be the figures of the opening of the Tropicana of all their gaming.
Yes. Yes.
Then they started checking into things, the under figures and all that of it. It was that was the beginning of bringing in a lot of help trying to find out who was all going from the cage and out the door.
And don't forget that once Ben Jaffe had to exit, there was J.K. Housels.
Yeah,
Tell them about J.K. a little bit.
It was actually, I ran into him when I was just a kid out there, and he was a very pleasant man. He even played on my game, told me who he was. He used to be owner of the hotel and everything. And I was pretty amazed by him. He was very pleasant. Everybody seemed to like him, and I guess he had a green card. They couldn't find anything wrong with him at all.
No, he was pretty lily white.
Yeah, he was. Well, I think they all started getting lily white after a few of them started going down. But the hotel wasn't doing real good, so he ended up selling out. And that Mitzi Briggs.
Well, I think Del
Gustafson, he came in, yeah.
He came in from Minnesota, a
Minnesota, a big financier
from Minnesota.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right.
And he came in, and of course, he had to sell the hotel. And actually, when things were going south, 2 brothers came in, Fred and his brother Ed Domini. Yeah, the Dominis came in and invested $1 million
for themselves
of their money to keep things afloat.
They kept it afloat.
Yes.
Then Mitzi came in.
Mitzi Bragg Staffer's heir to the chemical company that her father, the Staffer Chemical Company. Tell them about Mitzi. You actually used to see her in the hotel.
She used to come in and sit down after she had lost everything. I mean, she had lost everything. She had to sell out because of one person in there, that Joe Augusto, if I'm not mistaken.
She trusted him explicitly.
And he was not licensed, so he was running the whole hotel being unlicensed. So they ended up forcing her to have to sell out, and she ended up well, she had to sell out. She lost everything that she had invested, but she was okay with that. She ended up working at a church right next door for a little while and become just a real church-going lady. And she said her faith kept her going the whole time. But she used to come in, sit down, playing slot machines, and just sit there and almost be in tears because she couldn't believe she lost everything at the hotel. It was sort of sad. It was sad to see.
It was. Well, she trusted Joey Augusto, whose ties to the Kansas City mob of Nick Savella, who took over from his brother Anthony, and of course their underboss, Carl DeLuna, who was known as DeLuna.
DeLuna.
Yeah. In fact, a few of them had nicknames.
Oh, they had
The gentleman that hired you, what was his name?
they called him Baba. That was the one name I know. They got one Italian name. I don't know what it is. It was Don Shepard. He's the one that hired me out there. But everybody had nicknames back then. All of them.
How about Tony Spilatro?
Tony Spilatro. That was
Mr. T.
Mr. T, which was the ant.
Yeah.
The nicknames can go on and on and on.
Joey Cusimano.
Joey Cusimano, he was the car dealer.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
And Jack Urich.
Oh, that was...
He was the transmission.
Yeah. Now, why they had these names, I have no clue, but apparently they had to have something to do with getting those nicknames.
Yeah.
Like we all had nicknames when we were in the business.
Yeah. Carl Thomas, Mr. C.
Mr. C.
Which we'll talk about him one day because he's the one that opened up the bingo club, which was morphed into the Palace Station.
Yeah,
and we all know what the Palace Station morphed into.
Yeah, the Bingo Palace.
Yeah, the Bingo Palace. The Bingo Palace. Yes.
Yeah.
So these gentlemen like Mr. C worked at the Tropicana. Joey Cusimano was connected. He worked at the Stardust, and they all had various positions.
Yes. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting working. Of course, being young and everything, getting hired in there. It was totally different. We were unaware of a lot of this stuff that went on. You'd see things happen in the hallways, baggage taken out to the side of the cars. But you didn't put two and two together. They kept us happy, so, let them do what they need to do.
No, it wasn't long though. After a while, you saw the regulars that would come in and go to the offices, the same fellas, from out of town, different cities, the guys from Kansas City. Because like Joe Augusto, who was running the hotel unbeknownst to the Gaming Control Board, under the guise of entertainment director.
Yeah, the entertainment director.
And that's how we befriended Mitzi Bragg Stafford, because she was didn't have no clue about the gaming business. And these guys, they were sharks. They knew how to fleece people, believe me.
They sure did. They were good at it.
Oh, boy, listen. When you work in the underworld as a criminal, you're either going to just be a gopher or a soldier, or you're going to be a mastermind criminal on how to skim the money, how to do all sorts of things to get the cash and send it to various families out there, like Milwaukee, Kansas City, Miami, New Orleans. It went everywhere. Everyone got a piece.
Yeah, they got a piece.
Even Joseph Ayopo, the Godfather in Chicago.
They were all in. It's crazy, but that was just one hotel. So you can imagine one hotel leading into the rest of them. That's where everything started opening up. They started looking at the other hotels, trying to find out what's going on with all of them too. And of course, they all, I think, had their hands in on it.
Well, sure they did.
At one point or not.
Not to get away from the trop so much, but the point man for all of the mob families that had a piece of Las Vegas back then was Johnny Roselli.
Oh, Johnny Roselli.
Johnny Roselli was like the diplomat for the mob families all over the country. When there was a dispute amongst family members, he settled it. He said, "This is what's going to happen," and he had the clout behind him. He had the big boys behind him, and they listened because they didn't want any trouble in Las Vegas. They didn't want any shootings and killings like they had in Chicago and New York. They didn't want to scare off the gamblers. They wanted it business as usual. We're making money. Let's not upset the apple cart. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. But didn't they find him off of Florida, off in the ocean in a barrel?
In a 55-gallon drum. Johnny Roselli, he was one of those guys that happened to be at the right place at the right time for a lot of things. He was also privy to the Kennedy conspiracy. They say he actually knew who the conspirators were, and also his dealings with CIA and FBI in a certain kind of way. So he knew too much, like Marilyn Monroe. He knew too much, and he ended up in that drum, 55-gallon drum. In Miami, in the ocean.
Yeah, it's
Johnny Roselli. But he was a mediator for all the families. You had, I don't know, 7 to 10 different factions in there, and when there was disputes, I'm a family head, you're a family head, and we're having a beef, usually about money or who's going to run this part of it. He settled it, and what he said went.
That's what he said.
And if not, some of those guys would be taking a permanent vacation. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Yes.
But the fountain out front, they had a fountain out front that was 30 feet high, and they had like a big round pool around that thing. I remember when they tore it down. It took them almost 3 weeks with the wrecking ball just to tear that thing down. I mean, every day you'd hear it, boom, boom, that big ball hitting the side of that thing. It was very well built.
Oh my God, wasn't it though? When my dad and I would drive up through the front entrance, and we'd get out of the car. First thing I did was run to the fountain, and just be amazed at that fountain.
Oh, it was big. It was a big fountain back
because,
then.
I mean, you lived in the desert back then. Aside from downtown and a few casinos on the Strip, it was all desert. I mean, you could actually, if it wasn't for the casinos, we would be more like Gabby Hayes.
Oh yeah. And
Dag nabbit.
You'd be sitting outside there at the Trop, and all of a sudden you'd hear a plane go over, but it was a prop plane.
A prop plane, yeah. What kind of prop? What was the over and under it was going to land?
Yeah. Yeah, who was in it that was going to get shoved out?
Oh my God! Yeah, there she goes. Oh.
Yeah, it was quite the place out there.
Oh, I love the Tropicana with its blue haze inside. I can remember it like yesterday. My dad and I went to go see a couple of fellas that worked there, and I was just a kid. I might have been maybe 8 or 9 years old, so that would have been 60, 61. And I was just amazed that it was almost like being in a trance, walking in and seeing that blue and all the beauty. And I mean, it was just wonderful, marvelous hotel.
When I went to work there, they had the blue ceilings, the
Yes.
sparkly blue ceilings. They were low, but they just went forever. And you'd sit there and you'd be, wow, I cannot believe I'm working here. I'm working at the Tiffany of the Strips, what they call it.
That's what it was, the Tiffany of the Strip.
And that was, to me, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, the stars and everything that I got to deal to and everything. You know, it's crazy who all came in there. You know,
tell the folks out there, tell the young audience and the middle-aged audience, hey, tell them who you used to deal to.
I used to deal to John Wayne, James Arnaz. That was a highlight of my life. And of course, your buddy Telly Savalas.
Somebody give him a lollipop.
Yeah,
What a sucker.
He wasn't a very nice guy.
No.
He's been thrown out of a couple of hotels before.
His brother George was real nice, though.
Yeah.
His brother George was a big teddy bear.
Yeah.
He was real nice. But Telly had a thing. When he'd come and play at Caesar's Palace, he'd buy in for $2,000, and he wanted all green because he wanted the illusion that he had all this money. And he used to have a pocket full of lollipops. And I don't have to tell you, he didn't give the male guys any lollipops. It wasn't for the males. It was for the females. And when they would walk up, oh, Telly, or they'd call him by the show that was real popular at the time, Kojak.
Kojak.
Oh, Kojak. And he'd say, what do you have for me? You want a lollipop? And of course the girl, she didn't know that she was auditioning. Once she took the wrapper off that lollipop, I won't get into specifics, but you all know if anyone's ever taken up the trumpet. Yes.
Yeah, he did that. But he
was what was commonly known as a stroker.
Yes, he was. Now with us, he'd come in and get all red chips.
Oh.
Which was even double the greens.
Oh.
I mean, he'd have a hand. He just wanted the crowd there, and he was pretty hard to deal with at times. You know, I mean, we had Carl Thomas dealing to him. We had Major Riddle. They all came in there at the Tiffany.
Tell him what was very unique about Major Riddle. He was one of the first guys that he had a steel rod put in his penis.
He had an implant put in, and
yes.
He had a ball. I guess he would squeeze it up with his elbow.
He'd have a ball, all right. You'd see him go like this. You thought he was doing one of those joke things.
Yeah, and everybody thought it was it was hilarious back then, but that was the real deal for him.
Well, he had to strap it to the side of his leg. Well, I was told by my father and others. Yeah, like a gunslinger. It wasn't half cocked. It was cocked and ready to go.
Ready to go whenever he wanted it.
Yes, Major Riddle, who fired a lot of crews at the Dunes.
He was tough to deal to, too.
Sid Wyman finally had to throw him out of the casino.
Yeah.
Because he was firing everybody. He said, we ain't got nobody to work, nobody to deal. You got to go.
Yeah, he was tough, and I mean, Dean Martin would walk through, and he would actually go and deal 21 and sing. He would sit there and sing on the game, dealing 21, because he used to deal. He used to be a dealer.
Back in Steubenville.
Yeah.
He was a 21 dealer, yes. Mr. Martin never forgot where he came from. He was always nice to the help, to the staff. He was a gentleman. He was a gentleman.
Sure
he
was.
really was. So was Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis. But we didn't get to see him too much because they wouldn't let him come through the front door. They made all of them go around the back for some reason. That's just the way this town was, The black population had to stay outside. If they were entertainers, they came in through the back entrance. And Frank Sinatra, I think, got that all changed.
Well, he said he wasn't going to appear unless Sammy Davis Jr. could come through the front door. Mm-hmm. It was Mr. Sinatra who had big meatballs in the days, as they say. Yes, he did. He had a set of meatballs.
Well, they were all going to the Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
And then town got wind that the Moulin Rouge was...
that was a happening place.
A happening place.
A happening place, yes, it was.
They decided to pull their liquor license.
Yeah.
Town did, and they ended up going belly up. It wasn't open for very long, but isn't that it's just wild how all that went. We were all a part of that.
Yes, we
back
were.
Then.
Now, when you were at the Trop, when you first got the job, describe the dealer's room and your EDR. Did they have it? They didn't call it EDR then, but where did you get to eat?
We got to eat in a regular coffee shop. We go in there. We could have time orders, just like regular people.
Tell people what a time order is. Some people might not know.
Time orders where you'd go on break and you'd go down there and you tell the cook, listen, I'm going to be on break in an hour. Can you have me a hamburger, a cheeseburger, whatever you wanted, fries, and I'll be back in an hour. That was a time order. They'd write it down. And when you went down there, it was waiting on you. You give him $1, $2, whatever, and go down and eat. But we eat right in a coffee shop. And then they ended up downstairs, opened us a dealer's room down there. And that was segregated. Baccarat dealers over there, crap dealers here, 21 dealers there. You didn't sit with each other. We were all segregated at the time. We had one dealer's room that wasn't very big. We had one TV that was broke half the time because people would play pitch or hearts, and they would lose and get mad, and they'd go over and kick the TV, knock it on the floor, turn over the candy machine or something like that. So none of that worked. So we didn't really stay down in there. We always went to the cafeteria and eat, or the restaurant, and got to eat whatever we wanted there. That was fantastic till till one guy they used to call Tarzan. He was a big wheel dealer.
I remember Tarzan. He used to work at the Flamingo, too.
He was a big guy.
Big wheel dealer, yeah.
Yeah.
400-pounder.
And he started taking whole pies out at night. So they canceled us from eating in there. So, well, I'm going to have to, we'll open you up downstairs. Then the food started getting pretty bad down there. Yeah, it was down there with all the cockroaches.
No one got, some people were getting antsy down there.
Yeah, they were getting very antsy. So
what year was that?
That was 79.
79.
Yeah,
Wow.
1979.
Yeah.
So it was a big difference for us. Of course, we all complained, but it didn't do no good. We ended up just having a good time downstairs. Just made what we could, eat what we could, and had to eat what they put out. Luckily, we had one chef down there that was a really good cook. He made fried chicken and everything. It was great. It was just great. So, yeah, I miss the Trop. That was my home for 20 years. That was my home.
How many shirts did they give you?
Yeah, we ended up getting 3 shirts, 3 white shirts. They give us 2 ties, 2 black ties at the time, and it was funny. The more you tied it, the longer it got.
Oh, my
It would
goodness.
stretch.
Is that what I'm doing wrong?
And some of them guys had their ties hanging down around their knees.
Wishful thinkers, I believe.
You had an apron. You had to wear your apron. Had the Tropicana logo on there. Of course, you had a little name badge up here. White shirt, black and whites. I think everybody wore black and whites.
Black and whites. Yeah. Was the tie have the Tropicana and the fountain on the front of it?
It did. Had the Tropicana
I remember
and the
that.
fountain.
Yeah,
right there. In fact, I've still got a picture of that. Me standing in it. It's pretty funny to see that. So, Anyhow, we're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll get right back with you.
We'll get back. Stay tuned now.
Stay tuned. Please
We've got a whole
tuned.
lot more.
Yeah,
Don't fall asleep.
We'll be right back.
This show will keep you awake. Insomniacs out there.
Ever wonder why some other guy gets all the chicks? Ever wonder why some other guy is always the life of the party? Ever wonder why some other guy is having all the fun? Ever wish you could be that other guy? Well, now you can be with the Dan DePaola Trombone Method.
Hi, I'm Dan DePaola, and I've been to countless parties and events, and I know what brings good times and chicks. The trombone. With my method, your calendar will never be empty again.
You'll learn to play the songs that will keep you and your friends knee-deep in good times and broads. Songs like Sir Duke, I Feel Good, Knock 3 Times, Hot Stuff, Celebration, Pick Up the Pieces, The Hustle, and of course, Tequila. For a single payment of only $49.99, you get a trombone, the method book, and an accompanying music CD. But wait, if you order in the next 15 minutes, you'll get this official Dan DePaola autographed photo absolutely free. The Dan DePaola Trombone Method. Create music, make friends, set the mood.
Hey, welcome back here with the Vegas Dice Kings. Sorry, I had to go out and get some donuts real quick. I was just a little hungry. And we're talking about the Trop a little bit. And I believe we have a caller on the line.
What, a caller?
I believe so.
Sorry, our lines have been busy for weeks.
Hello, caller?
Hey, guys.
Who we talking to?
It's your old pal, Jimmy Cheese. I had to go home
Jimmy
today.
Cheese. How much is the bail, Jimmy?
I have to take care of my dogs.
Oh, yeah, we'll be down to bail you out. No problem.
The hair of the dog that bit me.
What's on your mind, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Well, I know you were talking about the Tropicana today, and as far as I can remember as a kid, it was way ahead of its time. It was like, I want to say the early 1970s. It was just so opulent and classy. It was ahead of its time. Because prior to that, there was no Caesar's Palace. It was really, Caesar was like in 1966, so it might have been a little before then. But the only memory I have of the Tropicana was the golf course. I played there in 1982. I was a horrible golfer. I didn't like it. I just did it because that's what the guys were doing. And I went with, I was working at the Silver Slipper at the time. And I went with two of the dealers and a foreman. And we were on the fairway. And me and one of the dealers, we looked down the fairway and see the golf cart of the other guys, stopped. And I saw the foreman's legs laying on the ground. So right away, we're like, something must have happened. So we sped up, we went down there, and he was using the golf cart as a wind block because he was lighting a joint. And that's how we played golf.
So he made a dog left. What do you call it?
Dog leg?
Dog leg left.
No, well, he called it a hog leg.
A hog leg. Oh.
Well, I remember the security guards had hog legs, but they carried on the side of their hips. But boy, that brings back memories. The golf course. Wow, that opened up in 1961, Jimmy. And
wow.
Jimmy Webster was one of the big guys there. Carol, she was there. I played every day. We walked that course just about every day when I got off work, when I worked graveyard. That was a fun course. So you did get to play that, huh?
Well, not well, but I played it.
It don't matter. It was fun to get out there and just hit the ball around.
Geez, do you have any knowledge about it being one of the very first golf courses in town? Talk about how ahead of its time and the opulence that the amenities had there besides the 27-hole golf course.
Yeah, well, that's what, I knew. I read up that it had a 27-hole golf course, and I'd never heard of that configuration. I always thought, did they have a 9-hole and an 18-hole, or how does that work?
Yeah, they had an 18-hole, then a 9-hole. Yeah, they added the 9-hole on afterwards. Made it 27 holes total. They even had houses on the 18th hole or 18th green all down the side. They had houses there that had swimming pools that had the glass. They were indoor-outdoor swimming pools. The glass went right down into the water. So, people that lived in homes could swim out and come out to the outside and lay out there. The showgirls or whatever was there. It was. Then they ended up finding a couple of guys would jump in the pool and swim under and start robbing the houses. I think that's when they started locking everything up back then. There was no locks on nothing back then for a while, but that was a great golf course. They lacked water. If they would have had water, it would have been one of the number one courses in town. The Dunes was the number one. That was a big course. That was a real long course. But the Trop, man, that was wonderful. That was
it was fun. So what year did they get rid of those houses, or were they there the whole time?
Well, they had the houses there until the MGM ended up buying that property, and they tore all that out. All the houses got tore out, the golf course, everything. Remember at the MGM they built that big theme park back there.
Right.
They had the rides and the water rides and all that stuff back there at the MGM.
Yeah.
So
that only lasted a couple of years, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It didn't go over too much. They were trying to make it like a Disneyland.
Yes.
Which is this town is not Disneyland.
It's not Disneyland. It's still people bring their kids and everything. It's still an adult playground.
Adult Disneyland.
It's a big adult Disneyland.
$20 ticket, all the rides are free.
Yeah. So they still bring their kids, and it's they're trying to change it, but it's going to be hard. This is still, like I said, an adult playground.
Not only
Vegas.
that, why do you want the children around all that marijuana smoke?
We got a
Let
lot
me
of
tell
it
you,
now.
I thought the skunks only lived out in the woods. No, they don't. No, sirree, Bob.
Yeah, they got a lot of that going on right now.
I know a lot of dealers that, they never smoke, but they sure are eating more.
Yeah, so you had a good time there at the Trop, huh?
Yeah, well, when you're 25 years old, you have a good time doing anything.
Yeah.
It's just I wish I could have been a better golfer, but I just didn't have the mentality for it. It was too slow for me.
Yeah.
So that's why later on I took up ice hockey.
Oh, there you go, ice hockey.
Until he was skating on thin ice.
This is a good town to have ice hockey. It is.
Yeah, well, it took a while,
You
but it's
couldn't get
getting
an
there.
ice cube.
No, he was a goalie. I remember seeing the Cheese on some games. He had the makings of a Patrick Moi lookalike, or Martin Brodeur.
They told me I look more like John Van Beesbrook.
Oh,
But,
John Van
listen-
Beesbrook, huh? Oh.
Listen, next week, guys, I got a treat for you. There's a gentleman. I talked to him today. He was a foreman at Caesars back in the day, and has some great stories. His name is Phil D'Angelo. And I'm hoping that
Phil,
hoping he can make him up.
my old Goomba.
Yeah, he has some great stories, and he'd like to spend some time with you. So maybe next week, the both of us will come out there if we can squeeze in at the desk.
Sure,
John says,
absolutely.
Mr. Stiles says you can get up to 7 Bambinos on this table.
John's shaking his head no.
We have a weight limit, Cheese, of 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Total.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun, Cheese.
Yeah, little
That'd be
Philly.
fun.
Little Philly D'Angelo. I worked with his daughter. So did you, Cheese.
Yeah, right. She was a cocktail waitress.
Yes, she was. And we just gave our salute to all the cocktail waitresses. And I'm sure, Cheese, over the years, both of us being at Caesars, you remember how famous the cocktail waitresses were at Caesar's Palace. They weren't even called cocktail waitresses. They were called what, Cheese?
Goddesses.
Thank you,
Goddesses.
Cheese. Jeopardy's calling your name.
Yeah. Goddesses of town.
Goddesses. And people would come in and take pictures of them. They were like celebrities unto themselves. People would just gather around them, and they had that the ponytail, which was part of the uniform, and of course the outfit was made to enhance all of their features.
Well, another thing, Danny and Patton, that a lot of the cocktail waitresses now don't realize that they didn't even get dressed themselves. They had dressers.
Yes.
They would go in and they had people that would dress them and put their cones on, and they were treated like stars.
Oh, sure.
They were. When they came out into the arena of fun, people would just look at them and they'd be drop dead gorgeous, and even the women were envious. They'd say, "Oh my God, look how beautiful she is. Oh wow."
Well, you got to remember, without them, they wouldn't have had nobody would have had no fun at all. I mean, they kept the drinks going. They run their legs off. People don't realize how far they have to walk and carry, not only just 1 or 2 drinks, they're carrying 15, 20 drinks at a time, and they're
Right.
constantly moving, constantly.
How about the wealthy guys that would fall in love with these cocktail waitresses and say, "Listen, I've got so much money, I don't know what to do with it. Whatever you want. Isn't that true, Chief?
Oh yeah, a few of them left work early and wound up on a ranch in Texas. A few of them.
Yes, a ranch in Texas, and I don't know if they were on a trail ride or doing some branding, maybe.
We had a few of them out there that ended up with 7-Elevens, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a
7-Elevens.
free big gulp?
Yeah, but they wasn't here.
Most I ever got was from a distance. I became a slurper.
Yeah, so the cocktail waitresses, they had it rough, though. I mean, yeah, they had guys back then that were grabbing, and I can imagine what they've had to put up with over the years.
Listen, I went with a couple cocktail waitresses, and they told me, with men that became hot and cold, they'd say, men, even the ones that were married, I mean, they'd be pawing them and doing all this to where they lost their respect for most men. Even when the ones were square Johns, they just kind of like, they had to do the job, and they wanted to make money, so naturally, they put their best foot forward. But aside from that, they wanted to stay away from most guys in that situation.
Yeah, I don't blame them because, like I said, these guys, they were grabbing and snatching, and they just couldn't keep their hands off when they were drinking. Their mouths got them in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I remember the Cheese, myself, and even Pat and Penny when we were young. The women loved dealers, and they couldn't keep their hands on. I mean, I had a lot of head of hair, but they pulled too much of it out.
Yeah, fortunately.
Yeah, they were definitely a classy bunch of women because they had to put up with a lot of crap.
They did.
They sure did.
They did.
No doubt about it.
Yes, they did, and they always watched their figures, and I mean, we didn't have to, at Caesars anyway. We didn't have to help them in any way. I mean, these women would come up, and these guys would stop. The guy would drop the dice and say, "I don't drink, but I think I'm going to start."
Yeah, I remember we had one cocktail waitress that we had a dealer, a good-looking guy, wanted to take her out for a couple of years. He got to take her out. And they went out and they started drinking. They went to her place. So the next day he came in to work and everything, and man, she came in just screaming and yelling. I found out that he had stole her TV, her stereo, and everything.
Oh my God!
Yeah, he did. She wasn't too happy about that. I said,
Boy,
there you go.
It couldn't have been a fabulous.
Wasn't he satisfied enough that he got the roller coaster ride of his life?
Yeah, he ended up with a TV and a stereo
that's not how you appreciate women. No. Especially, Cheese, would you like to say a few words about Women's National Appreciation Month?
Well, all I could tell you is being in this business as long as I have, I admire the women so much because, I mean, today's day and age, when you see well, you can't say this and you can't do that. It was anything goes back then, but they stood their ground and were just really special.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you look at this town now. We got Mayor Goodman. She's running this whole show now in Las Vegas. Jan Jones, when she was, remember she had the car dealership, and she
Jan Laverty
with Fletcher Jones' son.
Fletcher Jones Jr.
She was Jan Laverty
Jan
Jones.
Laverty, sure.
She still works as an executive at Caesars Palace Corporation, if I'm not mistaken. Elaine Wynn, behind the man. I remember Elaine Wynn well in the early days when Mr. Wynn bought the Golden Nugget, and she was definitely the woman behind the man. Oh. She had a lot of input as to decorative things and ideas, and she was very much very, very intelligent and very
smart,
nice.
Very nice.
She was a very nice lady, always nice to the help, and you would say, Mrs. Wynn, she'd say, call me Elaine. It was always a first name basis.
Yeah, you just it's amazing, how this town has really built a lot of people up. I can't say enough about this town.
No.
As far as helping everything.
Look at the host. I believe Cheese was working there when Dolores Owens, who was one of the top hosts in town at Caesars Palace. You remember Dolores Owens, Jimmy?
Yes.
And the woman that ran what would you call not HR, but all of the background in the departments was Gloria Brown.
Right.
There was a lot of women that had important roles all throughout the town. You think of all the what, Mr. Cheese?
Well, I was going to say, not to get off topic real quick, but to also give the feel of what it was like. Caesars Palace had its own doctor. If you were feeling a little bit sick or had a cold, you could go upstairs to the doctor's office at work, and he would give you a prescription. I forget his name. I don't know. Do you remember his name, Dan?
He was Italian, Jimmy. His name was Dr. Benny Boombatz. No, it was Finkelstein.
Yeah, Dr. Fink, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Dr.
remember.
Fink.
Yeah. Boombox.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd give you two jawbreakers and say, "Call me in the morning."
Yeah, yeah, isn't that funny how we even where we were at, we had a call-in line. You could call into a doctor if you got sick. Of course, you could go downstairs, and they'd give you all your vitals and all that. And if it was something, they'd send you right to the emergency room. You know.
I remember they had, for a short time, when they'd have these dice tournaments at Caesar's Palace, they had a proctologist on standby in case some of the players lost their ass. Yeah, yeah.
Listen, maybe somebody will shoot an email to you guys. There was a time at Caesars they had a Barbooth tournament, and it's a dice game, and I don't remember. I didn't deal it, but I remember it drew quite a bit of players.
Barbooth,
so if anybody out there knows what Barbooth is.
I've heard of it. I don't know how it's played. I thought it was played with cards. But
they used pit 6 where the dice tables were. And I'm pretty sure it was Barbooth, and they had a lot of old-time dice players that happened to know the game. And it's something I heard of when I was a kid, that back in the 1950s, and like the card game Pan. Pan was another game that is obsolete, and they used to have Pan tournaments.
Yeah, they had Pan, they had Barboot, and they had
don't forget Pharaoh.
Chuckalug.
And don't forget Pharaoh.
Pharaoh.
The Pharaoh Bank,
board game thing.
Yeah.
And most of your Asian players would like to play that game back in the day. I used to watch it at the UP, which was Union Plaza, back in the 70s.
Yeah, and then Stickball.
Used to run
Harry Crow. I remember a little short guy with about an 8-foot cigar.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd take him out to a bar, and toward the end, he had cerebral palsy. He had the shakes real bad, so we would go in there and fill his drink all the way to the rim and give it to him. And he'd just look at you, and he'd call you a name. Or give him a hot dog.
Or Parkinson's?
Parkinson's, I believe it was.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy, man.
Harry Crow, I liked him. I used to talk to him. He ran they had a baccarat pit at the UP, and he ran it. And a lot of the baccarat dealers that graduated from there, cheese, that had juice, they went there to learn baccarat from Harry Crow, and then went out to Caesar's Palace.
Wow.
Like Mark Ungaro, Jacques' brother.
Yeah, I remember.
Ungaro.
Yeah, he was out there. I know stories about
him and I started the same time at the extra board at Caesar's Palace in '77. Carl Luna and Jacques Ungaro, myself, and I forget who the other. There was one or two more. I think maybe the kid that ended up on heroin. What was his name?
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know. That was the group just before me.
Yeah,
so you guys were wild.
There was
group
5 of us on the
81
original extra board. They hired 5 of us.
Yeah, 1984 they hired 7 more of us, and that's what I told the story when we worked all 3 shifts, because you weren't an extra board dealer for all the games. You were strictly for craps.
Of course.
And but they had to fill in all 3 shifts. So you might work one day on swing shift and get off at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then they'd call you at 9 o'clock in the morning to come in at noon. So it was a good thing I was young, because there's no way I could do it now.
Well, we had to do a lot of doubles too at the Trop. I mean, after you worked, they'd say, "Hey, you guys got to work another 8," which we were happy to, because you're table for table.
Right.
You got a shot at making some money. It's just the way it was.
Double the fun, double the pleasure.
Yeah. Like you said, thank goodness you were young. You could get through it.
Geez, what was your biggest score at Caesar's Palace?
It wasn't that big. I might have been like a little over $2,000, but I've heard of ridiculous scores, like over $20,000 in one night.
Biggest was 10 dimes.
Wow.
10 dimes, and we got a security guard to escort us to our cars.
Man, I'm in the wrong business then.
I'll tell you a quick story about that. Ole Ole Matson, you remember him, the little old guy? Maybe not. He was gone by the time. Anyway, I'd left my money at home, and I borrowed 20 from him. And long story short, we made 10 grand, and I feel someone tugging on my shirt as we're leaving. And he says, "What about that $20?" I said, "I'll tell you what, Ollie. Here's $1. Here's $1. I'm going to pay you $1 a week until it's paid, okay?" He just looked at me and he stood and stared. He asked me for $20. Shut the front door. 20. You got my 20? What, you want $10,020? Really? I brought him a burrito.
Oh, he was on
day.
the crew.
Huh?
He was on the crew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so he made 10,000 also.
He made 10,000. Jeez, what do you think I'm
Oh
doing
my
here,
God.
jeez?
Oh, I thought.
Trying to sell some swampland in Florida, but the deal fell through.
Too many gators, huh?
Well, good thing I have my job at the mattress factory, so I have something to fall back on.
Well, I want to thank everybody for listening to us today. It's been a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about the Trop and some of the headliners out there and everything. It's been that was my old alma mater there.
That's right. The Tiffany of the Strip,
Tiffany.
cheese.
And I did get my gold watch after 20 years. I got a gold
You
watch.
still have it?
I do still have it. And it's funny now, you don't even get a cup of coffee.
You can't even get a free turkey anymore, right, cheese?
No.
So
Just be grateful you got a job now.
Not even a cannoli for the paisans.
anyhow, well, thank you so much for listening, watching with us today. We've had a lot of fun with it. Jimmy, we'll see you
Cheese next week with Phil D'Angelo.
I hope he makes it. Like I said, he's a little shy, but once he gets rolling,
We
we'll
better
you know,
make it,
Phil.
or we're going to put a contract out on him, cheese.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a good day.
Thank
All
you.
right,
You
cheese.
too, Cheese.
You too, cheese, and make sure you take a nice little long rest tonight, cheese.
Yes, I got one day off. I'll be good.
Oh, cheese, let me get my violin out for you.
All right.
Well, you
so
are
I'll see you guys next
65
week.
now, cheese. I got to give you that.
Yeah, I need my nap.
Try Geritol. Yeah, the pick-me-upper.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right,
everybody.
All right,
Thank
hasta
you
la
so
pasta,
much.
cheese.
Hasta la pasta. See you next week.
Make some scarols tonight.